Are you tired of typing emails? In this video, I will show you how to build a voice-controlled AI email assistant using Python, OpenAI, speech recognition, and SMTP. With just your voice, you can draft, review, and send emails hands-free. So let's dive into the actual coding part. So first, we want to create a new project in PyCharm. So I've already created a project called Voice Email Assistant Demo, and I created one file called keys.py. I will explain in a second what this file contains. So let's go ahead and create a new file, which is called app.py, and let's start the actual coding. So first we want to import some of the libraries which we want to use. So the first library will be speech recognition, and then what we want to install is basically pyttsx3. So this is the library which transforms our text to speech. What we want to install is also the SMTP library. I guess the SMTP library is already installed by default, and also we need to use the OpenAI library. And last but not least, we want to basically import the email library because we're going to send an email. And we also want to import the email password from the keys file. So let's do this. And I'll explain what this email password is in a second. So let's go ahead and install the free missing libraries. Actually, I think there will be more than three, but yeah, let me show you how this looks. So let's go ahead and install OpenAI first. After this, we can install the text-to-speech module, which is pyttsx3. After this, what we want to install is the speech recognition library. So for the speech recognition library, we want to install a specific version, which is 3.8.1. So this version has basically free tier on using the Google's transcription service, and basically you don't need to pay for anything. So let's go ahead and install this. And we also want to install PyAudio. So let's do this. Yep, so I believe that now we have all the packages that we need. And yeah, what we can do is we can start coding. So let's create an OpenAI client. And let's pass our API key. So let me just copy my API key from here. And then we can define our email address. So I've created a sample email in Gmail, which we can use for the purpose of this exercise. And we have our email password. So the email password is not the actual password that you use to log into Gmail. So the email password is an application password, which actually gives this Python script access to your Gmail inbox. So if you want to know more details on how to get this application password for Gmail, I will add a link somewhere on the screen which points to one of my previous videos where I explain how to basically generate such an application password. It's very easy, and basically I've broken it down step by step. and you can just go and watch this video so that I don't duplicate the efforts in every video. And yeah, so once you have generated the email password or the application password, yeah, so after this, what we can do is we can instantiate an engine, which will be the basically, um, what do you call it? The text to speech library. So this is the text to speech library. And yeah, once we have this engine, then we can define some functions. So the first function will be called speak. Okay, I can't spell. All right. And yeah, so once we basically define this function, we can populate it with some useful information. And basically, we're calling the engine, which is the text to speech engine here, and we're saying that the engine should basically say this text, and what we want to say after this is just run and wait. And we want to define another function which is called listen, and then the listen function will be responsible for actually capturing our voice, transcribing it to text. And yeah, so let's see how we can do that. So we can create a recognizer. So we already have the speech recognition library. So what we do here is basically we create an instance of the recognizer class. And after this, what we want to do is basically we want to get access to our microphone. And let's say we want to give a message to the user, which is basically we just want to tell the user that the program is listening for some input. And we want to adjust some of the settings on the recognizer. And after this, we want to capture the actual audio. So how do we do that? So we call the recognizer and then we say listen, and then we pass the source, which is basically the source that comes from the microphone. And once we have this, then we can define some try and accept blocks. And yeah, so in here, what we can do is basically we can call the recognizer again, and we want to call the Google's API to transcribe uh, the voice, or actually the text that we spoke. And this text will be saved basically in an audio file, and then we pass this audio file to the Google's API, which is going to transcribe the audio file into text. And we want to handle some exceptions in here. So this is the unknown value error. So let's say in this case, we can just give a message back to the user, which is a sorry, I couldn't understand. So I guess in here we need to use double quotes. So let's do this. Okay, understand. Please repeat. And we also want to handle another exception just in case the API is not available. So let's say, let's just copy this. Okay, here we want to return none. And here we want to return none again. So in here we want to say that the speech service is not available. Okay, speech service is not available right now. So this is pretty much our listen function. And after this, what we want to basically implement is another function, which is called generate email. And then this function will take subject, message, and recipient as an input. And in here, we're going to write a prompt for ChatGPT. And after this, we're going to send this prompt to OpenAI. So let's do this. So we call the client, chat, completions, create, and then we want to use the model, so GPT-4o mini. Then let's pass the messages. So in here we're going to have just a single message, and then the role will be user, and then the prompt or the content of this message will be the prompt, which we're going to define shortly. And finally, what we want to do in here is we want to return the response. So how do we do this? So we get the first choice, message.content. And yeah, let's come back to the prompt. So in here, what we want to say is write a formal email with subject, and then we pass the subject. So this needs to be a formatted string. And we want to say this is the subject and message, and we pass the message. So we can say the recipient of the email is, and then we pass the recipient. So we can just put this in quotes just to make it more obvious for OpenAI. So, all right. And what we want to say is basically don't include the subject in the email body, because I've noticed that if you ask OpenAI to write an email, then it's probably going to put the subject of the email in the actual body. And don't include any signatures. So yeah, so OpenAI also includes some signatures at the end of the email. It's just a way to basically specify your company and contact details. But just to keep things simple, we don't want to include any of this information. And yeah, so after this, we want to define the send email function, which will be responsible for sending an email to the recipient. And yeah, so this function is going to take three input arguments, so two email, subject, and body. And in here, what we say is basically we use the email API, which is email message. And now we want to construct this email. So we need to specify some arguments. So let's say in this case, we're specifying the sender of this email, and we need to specify the target recipient, which will be the parameter that we pass to this function. And then there will be another basically attribute, which is called subject. And finally, we need to pass the body. So it's set content, and then we pass the body. And yeah, so once we have this email message, then what we need to do is basically we need to send that using the SMTP library. So how do we do this? So we call the SMTP library, and we need to use SSL. And yeah, so since we're using Gmail, so it's smtp.gmail.com, and this is running on port 465. And yeah, let's say that this is the server, and what we want to do is first we want to log in using the email address and the email password. So the email password, just to repeat again, is not the password that you use to log into your Gmail account. It's an application password which you need to generate. And yeah, so after this, what we want to do is we want to say send message, and then the message is basically this email message object which we defined. And yeah, in here we want to say that if there's any exceptions, then we want to capture them. And yeah, let's say we want to give some feedback to the user. So let's say failed to send the email, and then error, and then we want to format the actual exception message. Okay, let's just modify this. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all the functions that we need. And yeah, so what we can do next is we can define the main function, which basically asks the user continuously for their input. So let's go ahead and create this. Okay, so I've defined the main function of our app.py, and this is how it looks. So first of all, we start with a welcome message. So our assistant is going to say, welcome to the AI email assistant. And after this, it's going to ask the user, who do you want to email? And we're going to wait for the user to provide some input using their voice. And once the recipient has been provided, then what we do is basically we have this email contacts dictionary, which contains the mapping between the names of the recipients and their email addresses. So in here, I've defined just a single recipient with the name Jason, and then their corresponding email address is this one. So you can define as many names as you like, and you can map them to obviously different email addresses. So this is just like sample data, sample names, sample email addresses, and so on. And yeah, so we do a lookup in this dictionary for the name that was provided by the user. And then if the name doesn't exist in this dictionary, then it's going to say that, yeah, it couldn't find the contact. So if the contact exists, then we move on to the next step, which is the subject of the email. So the AI assistant is going to ask for the subject. Once the user provides the subject, then it's going to basically ask them for the next input. What would you like to say in the email? And once this information is provided, then the AI assistant is going to say that it's going to generate an email and come back to the user. And yeah, so once the email has been generated, it's going to basically uh, tell the user how the email sounds, and basically it's going to cite everything in the email, and just basically the user can listen to the entire contents of the email. And after this, the AI is going to ask if the email sounds good to the user. And if it does, then the user needs to provide some input. If they say, yes, I'm happy with this email, or yes, I'm okay with this, then basically the AI assistant is going to send the email. Otherwise, it will just say that the email was not sent. And yeah, so that's pretty much the coding part. I guess we can run this and see if we can actually get something out of this.
Welcome to the AI email assistant. Who do you want to email? Listening.
Jason,
What is the subject of the email? Listening.
discussing AI automation solutions.
What would you like to say in the email? Listening.
I would like to set up a meeting and discuss AI automation solutions and how they can improve our business. Let me know when you're available.
Generating a well-structured email. Please wait. Here is the email. Dear Jason, I would like to set up a meeting to discuss AI automation solutions and how they can improve our business. Please let me know when you're available. Best regards. Would you like to send it? Say yes to confirm. Listening.
Yes, please. So the email was sent successfully. So let's go to Gmail and then see how the email actually looks. So this is our basically sender email address, which is richardsjason701. So if we go to the sent inbox, okay, maybe we need to refresh this. Let's just go ahead and do this. So you can see that we've sent an email, and yeah, so you can see how the email looks. And yeah, now if we go to the target recipient, which is martin.ldn, you can see that we've received an email, and this is how the email looks. And yeah, so that's pretty much the end of this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, give the thumbs up. And if you want to get access to the full template and all the code behind each and every video that I've created so far, please join my Skool community. The link should be down below in the description. It's completely free and you don't need to pay for anything. Thank you very much for your time and see you in the next video.